This right here is the Lefant robot vacuum cleaner. So with this cleaner, it is very sleek, very slim. It is 11 inches wide and about 3 inches high, and it does have a 720-degree infrared detection. So that way when it's moving around, it doesn't really bump into anything. It hits a wall, oh, and then rotates. Oh, hits a chair, rotates. Not a problem. So just because it has that giant sensor out in the front basically means that it has that extra spot detection. So if you're walking in front of it, if you have pets standing in front of it, it will typically stop, readjust, and then go to a different area. If it hits a wall, it will leave there on the map, on the application that you download on your phone of your floor plan, and it slowly learns with your actual floor plan of how big the house is and where it can go, which is a really cool feature to have. Another cool thing is that it has 6 different cleaning modes. So, kind of like I mentioned, it kind of goes all over the place and can do its own thing, or you can also manually control it. So, say you're sitting on one side of the room and you notice, your kid spills something on the other side of the room, but you're being a host or you're dealing with your other kid, you can actually pull out your phone and manually send it over to where the mess is on the ground. So that's a pretty cool feature. Another cool feature that I personally use all the time is the schedule clean mode. I have that go about 3 times a week, just kind of mobs around the house for about 2 hours and then hops back into its own charger. So really cool little feature to have. You can schedule it for a date and time. You can also have different power settings too. So there's a quiet mode, a normal mode, and then a powerful mode. Personally, when I have these scheduled to go, I just have it on that powerful mode because typically I'm not home at nighttime. Say I have it run, or have people come over and I want to run it after people have leave. I can put it on a quiet mode. You're gonna get a little bit less suction out of it, but that's kind of standard because you're not using as much power because it is in quiet mode, but still does a pretty decent job cleaning up. Personally, I have noticed, of course, the power mode works the best, or powerful mode works the best. So we have the manual mode, we have the schedule clean. There is a random mode where basically the robot just goes random places all around your house. I don't really find it super effective to actually have that mode go, just because it just goes randomly all around your house. There is a zigzag mode, which basically goes up and down your house in rows. So it just kind of goes back and forth, back and forth. I found this way to be the most effective. So personally, I do the zigzag mode with the schedule mode, so that way everything just goes in a straight line essentially. And there's also the edge mode, which basically just kind of goes around the perimeter of your house. It does take a little while for that robot to figure out where the edges are. So you have to run the actual robot a few times in order for it to actually have an idea or learn about where the edges are in your house. And there's also a spot mode. So basically, you're like, oh man, by the front door, there's a lot of dirt, there's a lot of debris, you're opening the door and you have leaves coming in, dust coming in, mud on the ground, dirt on the ground or what have you. You can actually have it set for a spot mode for it to just go straight to like by your front door or your back door and have it clean up that way. Kind of like how I mentioned, I do use the scheduled clean mode. So it does notify me when it actually comes on and says, hey, your robot has started cleaning. Typically, it will clean for about 2 hours, hour 45 minutes or so before it goes back and redocks itself, which I think is just crazy that this robot goes back, redocks itself in order to charge. Really mind boggling. It just blows my mind. When you do get this actual vacuum, it does come with 2 different filters. So inside the actual unit here, there is 2 different filters that you get. You just basically plop on there, so when it's sucking everything up, it's just an extra filter that's in there. It does have a smaller little trash box. For the sake of argument, I'm gonna call it a trash box. So I ran it once the very first day and it went under everything. It went under my couch, it went under my bathroom vanities, a lot of hard reach places that I don't normally get to as often. So that little trash can box was full after day one. So I have been cleaning it a little bit less now the more that I have it. So I've been running it 3 times a week and now I clean it pretty much every single week and it just kind of gets full of dust mites, dust balls, dust bunnies essentially. Also, a really cool thing about turning this on and off, you can use Amazon Alexa and Google Assistant in order to set this up. There's also a really cool app that has a really easy interface to use, super simple, easy design. Basically, turn on, turn off, set it at different schedule times, set it at this time. If you do buy more than one robot, because basically this robot will cover about 1,200 square feet on a full charge. So if you do have a house that is bigger, go ahead and get two. The price on this is crazy cheap compared to other models that are out there, and it does a really good job. Personally, in my house, I do have LVP flooring and tile throughout my whole entire house, bedroom, bathrooms, and etc. So it actually works extremely, extremely well on these hard floors. I don't have any carpet in my house, so I can't really testify on how well it works with carpet, but I do have a dog. So whenever I run this guy or the little robot, it does pick up a majority of the dog hair. Of course, there's those finer hairs, shorter hairs, smaller hairs where you have to, get like a brush or a broom or something to get, which of course a vacuum isn't going to pick up everything, but it definitely does a good job of getting the majority of things. Also, setting this up was not difficult at all. It was pretty straightforward. You basically put in these two little pivots right here of what the actual little sweep does, and then you go ahead, open it up, take out the trash can, box can, or whatever you want to call it. And then you just go ahead, peel off some labels, put it in there, put the filter in there, and turn this little green switch to on. So really, really easy to set up. Go ahead, throw it on the charger, and then on the application on your phone app, you can actually schedule everything and set everything up very, very easily. Now, since this is a robot vacuum, I do have to say that if you do end up buying a robot vacuum, just in general or in this one, just to make sure that if you have any socks on the ground or underwear on the ground, it will more than likely get stuck in that vacuum, and your vacuum robot cleaner will pretty much just turn off and just sit there. Also, if you have any electrical cords or cords on the ground that are out, and not up against a wall or behind a couch or behind the TV or something like that, if they're just kind of like laying out in the middle of the room, the robot will more than likely get stuck on it. So that's the only bad thing that I've found about a robot vacuum in general, is that it can have a little bit of trouble maneuvering while going over different, like, certain cables. And if you have underwear on the ground or socks on the ground, it'll try to eat it up, and then it won't be able to move just because everything's just jammed under there. So pretty self-explanatory. If you have any cables there, it can get stuck because there's just two wheels on this guy, so it can get stuck trying to get over that cable and not really know what to do. Also, if you have, clothes on the ground and it tries to suck it up, it's not going to go anywhere because it's going to get caught up under it. So those are the only real negatives about it. So far, I've been using it for about a month and a half, about 2 months now, and honestly, I cannot recommend it enough. It definitely takes time down on cleaning. It definitely helps. It takes time away from doing cleaning. You do have to do a little bit of cleaning here and there, but it's nothing as much as it would be without this cleaning robot. So I definitely, definitely recommend this Lefant M210 Pro.